Hey guys, I heard something Saturday evening from somebody in my minyan. This is a guy, he's kind of like the guy that makes sure everything kind of, runs like a well-oiled machine, thank God. He's very good at what he does. And I don't know, I always thought of him as somewhat of a rationalist, you know? Like, I think let's say if there's 10 people in the room, let's just hypothetically say that if I'm like the one who's into the most into mysticism, he's probably the one who's most into, rationalism. Although, who knows, right? But let's just assume that for a second. So, we're sitting there, and we're talking about, we have a guy visiting from Israel who's telling us about his kind of thoughts and impressions of what's going on. And this guy, who I thought was a rationalist, says, because we were talking about that whole thing with that I mentioned before, how the Israeli government, decreed that you could have weddings in the second half of Tammuz, because a lot of weddings were postponed, right? So basically it turned kind of like those 2 weeks into like a happy time, which normally is a time of mourning, right? And so the minute this Israeli guy said that, this rationalist guy, he's like, I have a feeling, he literally blurted out, like, he's like, I feel like we're just gonna get Mashiach and like Tisha B'Av. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what? I'm like, normally I say stuff like this, and everybody else looks at me like some people say amen, kind of like, I don't know if they're saying it like to be cute or maybe in a, not a patronizing way, but or like a very, like, they're saying amen, but they don't really know if they truly believe it, right? A lot of people, But he said that, and I was like, yo. I was like, amen. I didn't know what to say at first, but I was like, amen. From your lips to God's ears, man. Like, we have guys like that saying that, But it's interesting, guys. I wanted to tell him, and I wanted to mention the whole thing, what I heard, from Trump right before Shabbat, that he said about, the list or whatever. Supposedly, allegedly, he's going to release something or whatever. And then, the whole thing about, this fake Russia thing. A lot of things, I don't know if this guy was referring to that or thinking about that when he blurted this out, but he just said that he has a feeling. And honestly, I'm one of these people. I'm happy to go on somebody's intuition, let's say. And by the way, guys, there's a big difference between intuition and somebody saying, oh, I think so-and-so cheated, based on how I feel, Big difference between that and like feeling something that's coming in the future, right? Just intuitively. Again, guys, I'm usually the one that has these premonitions, and I've had them before. There's a video that I made actually that I didn't even post. I never posted it, and I think I may even erased it, where right before the whole week of the Iran attack, I had like this whole premonition, not about Iran, just in general, I gotta tell you guys, I don't know if I necessarily have any premonitions tonight or this week, but I will tell you that I do feel the intensity of this week. Normally, when I feel the intensity of this week, it's like a heavy negative intensity. Normally, most years. And usually like stuff, there's stuff going on in my personal life that's like, contentious, whatever it is. Guys, actually, not to get too personal, but I had like 2 relationships literally, explode like a nuclear bomb. One like a number of years ago on Tisha B'Av, and the one a couple of years ago, where it's like, I'm telling you, I had like the worst arguments I've ever had with any, lady, let's say, on this day. And it's happened twice. So it's funny, like it's really weird, like some organizations schedule like this. It's actually the funniest thing. It's like dating thing. They scheduled it for tomorrow. I'm thinking to myself, it's one of two. This can go one of two ways. Either, it could either be a thing where like, might end up being a good thing, because it could culminate in like, Tisha B'Av. A lot of people, going out after Tisha B'Av and meeting on Tisha B'Av and all the rest of it. A lot of relationships start on Tisha B'Av, right, 15th of Av. Or it could be a thing where it's just like a massive non-starter for, people to be able to communicate properly and all the rest of it, right? Who knows? Or you could say, well, if people have like their so-called first dates or first conversations on this week, maybe it's like a test to see, if they can get through this, they can get through anything, right? I myself wonder. And, or it could be a thing where, good things can happen. Everything can flip on its head. Like we always said, again, like, the whole thing with October 7th was, somebody mentioned, the liturgy on a, when you have Simchat Torah, and somebody is reciting the next, what's called Hakafa, the circuit that you go around the bima, around the place where you put the Torah. The liturgy sounds like da 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 da, right? And the liturgy that we're gonna read on Tisha B'Av, Lamentations, Eicha, da 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 da, Simchat Torah, da 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 da. They're literally inverse in terms of the notes, right? On the scale. Da 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 da. So somebody said, hopefully, our enemies, they turned Simchat Torah 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, into something that we read on Tisha B'Av. And hopefully Tisha B'Av turns into something Simchat Torah, like a Simcha. Well, guys, it's already been one Simchat Torah. One Tisha B'Av since the Simchat Torah, that's October 7th. We had Tisha B'Av of 2024, and now we're going to have Tisha B'Av 2025. Guys, I have a feeling that we may hear some good liturgy. Some liturgy that sounds a little bit different from da 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 da. I know it's interesting, guys. On Tisha B'Av, on that thing that we read in the evening called Eicha, that last da 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 goes Hadash Yameinu Kikedem, meaning we're going to renew Jerusalem as in days of old, meaning we go down, right? The notes go down, the scale goes down. Yes, it does go down, but the lines are, hopefully we're going to renew as in days of old. So we're ending on a positive note. That's why the Lubavitch Rebbe said we have to learn all the halachot. I mentioned this before. All the halachot of the Beit HaMikdash. We should try this week, right? Just like on Tisha B'Av, we're not allowed to learn any Torah on Tisha B'Av except for things about the Beit HaMikdash. All the stuff that involves that, right? So, my friends, Without Hashem, we should see interesting things this week. Things that are positive, things that are good. You know, things that we like, things that are pleasant. The path of pleasantness, guys. You can always say, oh, Hashem likes, tests us. He wants to see how much we believe. He wants to be close to us. He can test us and test us and test us and test us. Folks, I understand everybody who's going through their own tests. I understand the whole world is going through tests as individuals, as a collective, but every once in a while, you just want pleasantness. You just want the path of pleasantness. And that's basically it, guys. So, B'ezrat Hashem, this week should be fascinating. That much I know. It will be fascinating, no matter what. And should culminate in good things. Alright, guys. Shavua Tov. Chodesh Tov.